Look, I was a silly boy there. I tried to adjust my camera so I could fucking speak to it. And I hit the off button and I cut off. So this is very much a continuation from the... Fuck's sake, I'm after nearly doing it again. This is very much a continuation from the last episode. So I was saying that people who use safe spaces, is that, or could that be, I'm hypothesizing here, I don't know, I'm not saying anything definitive here in the least. Could safe spaces be red flags for the people who are using them and for friends of the people who are using them? Because on one hand, I get them, and I think they're great. Like, you know, the walls are caving in, you can't fucking cope, you know, oh, fuck, give me a nice, quiet fucking room where I can just be away from fucking everything for 5 minutes and just fucking get me head together, take a few deep breaths, and then go right and re-enter the world. And maybe that's how they're used. I don't think they are, but maybe they are, and if they are, fucking up the boys and down the points. My understanding is that they're frequented by certain people, and that, I think, is the red flag. I think if you're needing to frequent safe spaces, that should be a red flag to both you and the people around you, that you need to fucking dig out. And again, I don't mean to be overly fucking hyperbolic or dramatic here, but if you're frequenting a safe space, is it next stop a psychiatric hospital for you? I'm not saying it is or that it has to be by any stretch of the imagination, but it's an interesting one. And again, they're easy things to mock. Oh, you're fucking you and your fucking safe space. You know, you're in a college or a university. It costs fucking $100,000 a year to go, or, you know, tens of thousands, whatever it is. You know, you can't be there without being fucking rich, basically. And there you are, needing your safe space, surrounded by all the comforts in the fucking world, and you need a fucking safe space. But if you need fucking help, you need help. And I suppose I'm sympathetic to people who need help because I've been there. I'm 10 years the far side of it now, thankfully. But in 2008/2009, I was full-blown suicidal, and not in a good way. I had what is known as an active plan, which basically means I had a fucking date set and a method and a whole thing. It was all boxed off, said goodbye to friends and family without them knowing it, and all the rest of it. So I came as close as you can get, really, without actually, you know, metaphorically pulling the trigger, say. So I'm very sympathetic for people who feel they need safe spaces, for people who end up in psychiatric hospitals. And safe spaces, I think, are very easily mocked. I'm sure I've mocked them myself in the past. But yeah, what started this episode, or the previous episode, should I say, this being a continuation of that, is a conversation between Blind Boy Boat Club and PJ Gallagher. Check out the Blind Boy podcast, especially, I would say, if you found this particular episode in any way, shape or form helpful, because I would like to think that I'm relatively articulate on mental health, emotional well-being, whatever way you want to phrase it, but I would argue that Blind Boy is fucking leagues ahead of me. A lot of what I've learned is obviously through my own experience and having come through as bad as it gets, really well, as bad as it gets. I'm sure it could have gotten a lot worse, because I remember myself thinking, Jesus Christ, it couldn't get much worse than this, and hop, skip and jump a wet weekend, fuck me, it could, yeah. And, you know, I had everything that I was dealing with, and my brother wasn't killed, my wife didn't commit suicide, my kids weren't killed in a fire. You know, worse is a very, very, very long unending spectrum, so I wouldn't claim to have had it as bad as it could have gotten. It could have gotten a hell of a lot worse. But look, I'm fucking 10 years the good side of it, on the up and up and up and up. I have to manage it, and Blind Boy speaks very articulately on this. He struggles with his mental health, I think that's fair to say, or his emotional well-being, but he has tools to cope. He, as I'm sure, or I, as I'm sure he does, has his own little red flags. There's certain things that I'll give you an example. So I was maybe 5 years past being suicidal, on the up and up, and fucking, I was great, fucking doing better than most people. And got a bit of a wobble coming up to Christmas time, which is fairly fucking typical for people to start kind of struggling, especially, I live in Ireland, so it's fucking up north and we lack daylight and fucking all the rest. It's not great. Like, it's what time? It's 20 to 7 in the morning now. It's fucking pitch black. Will be for the sun will probably start coming up in maybe an hour or so. We're out with the worst of it now. But anyway, I digress. It was approaching Christmas a couple of years ago and just wasn't doing great. And I'm trying to think of if I can think of anything specific. No, it was more a general feeling of, oh, fucking, you know, life's not good, negative thoughts, rumination, all that stuff. And something clicked and I went, oh, fuck, I've been here before. And I know where this goes. I know where this ends up. I know what 6 months more of feeling like this, I know where that fucking leads to. And I don't want to fucking go back there. So, although I've been suicidal in the past, I haven't been for 10 years, say. But because I have been suicidal, it's almost as though that door, that out, the exit door of life, when you've been as close to it as I have been, I think that door never slams. It might slam shut, and it might even be fucking deadlocked and bolted and glued, but that doesn't stop you from fucking taking a fucking flamethrower to it. So in my mind, at least, that door has been opened and will kind of always remain open to a degree. And I don't mean to say that it's always on the table and I always have that get out of jail card free. I don't mean to say that in the least. But what I suppose what that means is I have to be particularly careful in managing my own kind of mental health or emotional well-being, again, whatever way you want to phrase it. Because if for no other reason, I have fucking kids now. And I lost my fucking dad through illness when I was young. And that was tough enough without him having fucking killed himself. So as bad as it was, you know, and as bad as it is losing a parent when you're young, I can only imagine, again, I mentioned earlier, like, you know, worse is a big fucking spectrum. Your dad dying when you're a kid is fucking terrible. Your dad dying of suicide is way worse. You know, your dad and your mom committing suicide, worse again, and, you know, worse is kind of never ending. But when I realised that I was kind of on a downward trajectory as opposed to an upward trajectory, I kind of said to myself, do you know what, I need to intervene here. And I did a couple of things. I joined a local amenity group, I joined a writers group, and I'm not sure if I started running more or doing something, but those were certainly two things that I did. I joined two groups, and that got me, you know, out of the house, it got me meeting people, it got me interacting with people, and then when I'd bump into somebody and they go, "Any crack, Frano?" I'd be able to say, yeah, actually, I joined a writers group there a while ago, and I had something to talk about. Other than, no crack. And inside my head, just a shit life, you know. And joined those two groups, have since left those two groups. But, you know, I think they got me through winter, say. But I suppose that the point that I'm striving to make here is, if you're not doing great, do something about it. You mightn't know what to do, but do fucking something. Talk to somebody about it if you have somebody to talk to. If you don't have somebody to talk to, join a group, you know, go sign up to fucking five-a-side soccer, or fucking join a darts tournament or a writers group. Do it in person, do it online, do fucking something. Because if you don't, if you've been on a downward trajectory and you don't do anything about it, it's fucking downhill for you. And doing anything mightn't necessarily make you fucking skyrocket upwards. And if it does, that's kind of a red flag, because you shouldn't be, you know, alternating from a downward spiral to an upward spiral to a downward spiral to an upward spiral. Like that, as far as I'm aware, is called fucking bipolar, and it's not great. But if you're on a bit of a downward spiral, I'm not even a spiral, but if you're on even if you're on the fucking mildest of downward, even if you're on a mild or slight decline, it needs to be addressed, because in fucking 2 years' time you'll be on the fucking floor, or maybe 6 months' time, or whatever amount of time it takes. So if you're noticing that you're not doing well, do something about it, and don't expect it to ricochet you upwards. Leveling you out is important, because leveling you out will give you a bit of fucking headspace. And on that note, I'll chat to you soon.